Captain Taemin Park stared at the warning lights flashing across his control panel. Red lights meant danger. Yellow lights meant problems. Right now, every single light on the bridge of the Soul's Promise was either red or yellow. Jinwoo, what's happening to our engines? Taemin asked his chief scientist. Dr. Jinwoo Kim was bent over his instruments, sweat dripping from his forehead despite the cool air on the bridge. The quantum drive is overheating, Jinwoo said without looking up. I told them we needed more testing before we tried this jump. The energy patterns are all wrong. Taemin felt his stomach drop. They were supposed to be making history today. The first human ship to travel faster than light. A simple test flight to Proxima Centauri and back. Instead, they were about to become the first human ship to explode in hyperspace. Can you fix it? Taemin asked. I'm trying, Jinwoo replied. His hands moved quickly over his controls. But the cascade failure is spreading through all our systems. We need to drop out of hyperspace now, or we're going to tear a hole in reality itself. Lieutenant So-Young Choi looked up from her weapons station. She was young, but Taemin trusted her judgment. Captain, even if we drop out now, where will we end up? We don't know where we are. That was the problem with humanity's first attempt at faster-than-light travel. They had built their quantum drive from theories and guesswork. Other species in the galaxy had been traveling between stars for thousands of years, but humans had never met them. Earth was alone as far as they knew. Jinwoo, drop us out of hyperspace, Taemin ordered. Now. Yes, sir. Jinwoo's finger hovered over the emergency switch. Dropping out in 3, 2, 1. The universe exploded around them. When the lights stopped flashing and the alarms stopped screaming, Taemin found himself looking at something impossible. Outside the view screen, instead of empty space, he saw a massive structure. It looked like a city built in the shape of a flower, with petals made of crystal and metal reaching out in all directions. Ships of every size and shape floated around, it like bees around a hive. Where are we? So-Young whispered. Ambassador Hyejin Lim pushed herself up from where she had been thrown to the floor. She was the ship's expert on alien life, even though they had never found any aliens before. Now it looked like they had found all of them at once. Those ships, Hyejin said, pointing at the view screen. They're not human designs. Captain, I think we just discovered we're not alone in the universe. Before Taemin could respond, their communications officer spoke up. Captain, I'm getting signals, lots of them. Different frequencies, different languages. It's like the entire galaxy is trying to talk to us at once. Engineer Daeho Seo was checking his damage reports. Sir, our arrival did something bad. Really bad. I'm reading massive energy disruptions in that structure. It looks like our quantum drive tore through some kind of energy field when we arrived. Through the view screen, they could see pieces of the crystal structure breaking away and floating into space. Beautiful rainbow-colored fragments that had probably taken centuries to grow were now drifting like space debris. Oh no, Hyejin said softly. I think we just crashed the most important party in the galaxy. The communication signals suddenly stopped. All of them. The silence was worse than the noise had been. Then, a single voice spoke in perfect English. Unknown vessel. You have violated sacred space and disrupted the harmony ceremony. Identify yourselves immediately. Taemin looked at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for him to somehow fix the situation. He was a space captain, not a diplomat. But right now, he was also the first human to make contact with alien life. This is Captain Taemin Park of the Earthship Souls. Promise. We are humans from the planet Earth. Our arrival here was an accident. We did not mean to cause any damage. The alien voice was cold when it replied. Humans. We have no record of your species in our database. You will remain where you are while we decide what to do with you. Dozens of alien ships began moving toward them. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Some looked like living creatures made of metal. Others were perfect geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. All of them had weapons. Captain, So-Young said quietly, I don't think they're coming to welcome us to the neighborhood. Hyejin was studying the readings from their sensors. The energy patterns from those ships are incredible. But there's something strange about them. They're all perfectly synchronized. Like they're all thinking the same thoughts at the same time. Jinwoo looked up from his instruments. That's not natural. I'm reading some kind of psychic field connecting all those ships. They're operating as a single mind. A hive mind? Taimin asked. No, not exactly. It's more like forced harmony. Like someone is making sure they all think the same way. The alien voice spoke again. You will prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with immediate destruction. Taimin felt a chill run down his spine. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. In all the stories, humans met aliens and became friends, or at least trading partners. They didn't accidentally crash into their most sacred ceremony and get threatened with destruction. Sir, So Young said, my weapons are charged and ready. But against all those ships, we can't fight our way out of this, Taimin agreed. Hee-jin, you're our diplomat. Any ideas? Hee-jin was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had just realized they were in more trouble than they thought. Captain, I think the problem isn't what we did. I think the problem is what we are. What do you mean? Those ships, that structure, that psychic field Jinwoo detected. They're all perfectly ordered, perfectly controlled, but look at us. We're arguing, questioning, thinking different thoughts. To them, we must look like chaos itself. The first, alien boarding craft attached to their hull with a soft thud. Through the sensors, they could see figures in flowing robes moving through their airlocks. Well, Taimin said, straightening his uniform, let's go meet our new neighbors. Try not to start an interstellar war. Too late for that, Hee-jin replied. I think we already did. The Galactic Council chamber was a sight that no human had ever imagined. Representatives from 847 different species sat in perfect circles around a central speaking platform. Some looked almost human, while others were so alien that Hee-jin's mind struggled to understand what she was seeing. Captain Taimin Park and his crew stood in the center of it all, surrounded by energy barriers that hummed with power. They had been brought here after the boarding party searched their ship. The aliens had been polite but firm. No touching, no sudden movements, and definitely no thinking too loudly. That last part had confused the humans until Jinwoo explained that most of the alien species were telepathic. They could hear each other's thoughts, which was how they maintained their perfect harmony. Human thoughts, apparently, were too chaotic and loud. The Sacred Assembly recognizes the beings known as humans, announced a tall, thin alien with skin, like flowing water. This was Velmtar, the speaker of the Ethereal Collective and the current leader of the Galactic Council. Your sudden arrival has caused great disruption, Velmtar continued. The Harmony Stones, which have amplified our collective meditation for over 10,000 years, lie in ruins. The psychic resonance that connects all peaceful species has been contaminated by your presence. Hye-jin stepped forward. She had been chosen as their speaker because she had studied alien psychology, even though she had never met any actual aliens before today. Honored speaker, she began, trying to be as polite as possible. We deeply regret the damage caused by our arrival. It was completely unintentional. We are willing to help repair whatever we have broken. A sound like rushing wind filled the chamber. It took the humans a moment to realize that the aliens were laughing, but it wasn't a happy sound. You cannot repair what you have destroyed, said another alien, this one looking like a crystal spider the size of a car. Your very existence creates discord in the psychic field. Even now, standing before us, you radiate chaos. Jinwoo couldn't help himself. What's wrong with a little chaos? We think just fine without being connected to everyone else's mind. The chamber fell silent. The kind of silence that comes before something very bad happens. You think this is acceptable? Velmtar asked, its watery form rippling with what might have been anger. Individual thought without harmony? Decisions made without collective wisdom. This is how civilizations destroy themselves. Actually, Hye-jin said carefully, our civilization has been doing pretty well. We've explored our entire solar system, developed faster than light travel, And we've never destroyed ourselves in any psychic harmony disasters. Another wave of that wind-rushing laughter. Your faster-than-light travel is crude and dangerous. You arrived here by accident, tearing holes in space-time like a child playing with explosives. Your chaotic thoughts prevent you from achieving true technological advancement. Before any of the humans could respond, something changed in the chamber. The temperature seemed to drop, even though there was no air conditioning. The lights dimmed, without anyone touching any controls. Even the psychically connected aliens seemed afraid. A new voice spoke from the shadows at the edge of the chamber. It was deep and cold, like the sound of ice cracking on a frozen lake. The Void Hunters hear the call of discord. A figure emerged from what had seemed like empty space. It was tall, thin, and completely black, except for its eyes, which glowed with a pale blue light. Its movements were perfectly smooth, as if it was floating instead of walking. "Kethmaran," Velmtar whispered, and the humans could hear the fear in its voice. "Speaker of the Council," the creature called Kethmaran replied. "We have been watching, from the deep dark, as always. The prime resonance that maintains order throughout the galaxy has been disturbed. The ancient laws are clear." Heejin felt a chill run down her spine. This was worse than being in trouble with the Galactic Council. This felt like being hunted. "The beings called humans have introduced chaos into the ordered galaxy," Kethmaran continued. "Their minds resist the psychic bonds that keep all species in harmony. They think independently, act unpredictably, and spread disorder wherever they go. By the ancient laws, they must be hunted to extinction." "Now wait just a minute," Captain Park said, stepping forward despite the energy barriers. "We haven't hurt anyone. We made a mistake, sure, but that doesn't mean you can hunt us, like animals." Kethmaran turned its glowing eyes toward the human captain. "You do not understand. The galaxy has been at peace for 50,000 years because the Void Hunters eliminate species that threaten the prime resonance. Chaos brings war. War brings destruction. We prevent this by removing the source of chaos before it can spread." "How many species have you removed?" Hyjin asked quietly. 17, Kethmaran replied without emotion. "All were given the same choice we offer you now. Submit to harmonic reconditioning, and your species may survive as productive members of galactic society. Refuse, and face the hunt." So Young couldn't stay quiet any longer. What exactly is harmonic reconditioning? "The removal of individual thought," Kethmaran explained. "Your minds will be connected to the psychic field. You will think what the collective thinks, feel what the collective feels. Your chaos will become order." "You want to lobotomize our entire species," Jinwoo said flatly. "We want to save your species from itself," the Void Hunter replied. "Chaos leads only to destruction." Captain Park looked at his crew, then at the hundreds of alien representatives watching them. Every face he could see looked either afraid or disgusted. None of them looked sympathetic. "And if we refuse?" he asked. "Then the hunt begins," Kethmaran said. "We will follow your ship back to your home world. We will find every human settlement, every space station, every colony. We will end your species' threat to galactic peace." "You would commit genocide to preserve your idea of order?" Hyjin asked. "We would prevent the chaos that leads to galaxy-wide destruction," Kethmaran corrected. "It is not cruelty. It is necessity." Communications Officer Yu Na Han, who had been quiet until now, looked up from her portable communicator. She had been trying to maintain contact with Earth ever since they arrived. "Captain," she said quietly, "I managed to get a message through to Earth. They know what's happening here." "What did they say?" Park asked. Yuna smiled grimly. "Admiral Jang says the fleet will be ready." Kethmaran's head tilted slightly, like a predator hearing an interesting sound. "Your species intends to resist?" "Our species doesn't know how to do anything else," Captain Park replied. The Void Hunter was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke. "To the Council. We will send an advanced scout to their home system. If the humans can be eliminated quickly, there will be no need for a full hunt. If they prove resilient, then we will return in force." How long do we have? Hyojin asked. Time is irrelevant, Kethmoran replied. The hunt has already begun. With that, the creature melted back into the shadows, as if it had never been there at all. Velmtar looked at the humans with something that might have been pity. You should have accepted reconditioning. Now your entire species will pay the price for your chaos. Maybe, Captain Park said, but at least we'll pay it as humans. In the depths of space, far from the Galactic Council, a sleek black ship broke away from a larger fleet and began its journey toward a small yellow star. The hunt was beginning. Dr. Yunsu Park had always been curious about alien minds. As Captain Taemin Park's younger sister, she had grown up hearing stories about the stars and wondering what kinds of creatures might live among them. Now, working as a xenopsychologist, aboard the Council research station Deep Thought, she was getting answers she had never expected. The news of humanity's first contact had spread through the galaxy faster than light itself. Her brother and his crew were being held at the Council chambers while the Void Hunters prepared for war. But here on Deep Thought, something interesting was happening. The humans are not the first, whispered a voice behind her in the station's library. Yunsu turned to see a being that looked like living metal shaped into the rough form of a person. This was Piroth An, one of the molten forge species. They were brilliant engineers who could shape metal with their bare hands, but they had been part of the Council for so long that most people forgot they had ever been different. What do you mean? Yunsu asked quietly. The library was supposed to be monitored, but Pirathan had shown her how to create small zones where their conversation couldn't be heard. Other species have questioned the harmony, Pirathan explained. Over the centuries, some of us have wondered why we all must think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions. But those who questioned too loudly, they disappeared. Yunsu felt a chill. The Void Hunters? Sometimes. But more often they were simply taken for reconditioning and came back thinking only approved thoughts. The Council calls it therapy. We call it the death of creativity. Pirathan held up one of its hands, and the metal fingers began to flow and change shape, forming intricate patterns that were beautiful to watch. My people once created wonders that the galaxy had never seen. Art, music, technology that grew, like living things. But the psychic harmony makes us think in straight lines, predictable patterns. Now we build only what we are told to build. Why are you telling me this? Yunsu asked. Because your brother and his crew did something we thought was impossible. They resisted the psychic field. Even now, while they are prisoners, their minds remain their own. This gives others hope. Over the following days, more aliens began approaching Ensu in secret. There was Quilithera from the Dreamweavers, who explained how the psychic harmony had turned her people's natural ability to share dreams into a prison of identical nightmares. There was Gorthmek from the Stone Singers, whose people had once made mountains dance with music, but now could only hum approved melodies. Each species had a similar story. They had joined the Council seeking peace and cooperation, but had gradually lost the very things that made them unique. Meanwhile, in Earth's solar system, Admiral Minho Jiang was preparing for humanity's first interstellar war. The message from Captain Park had been clear. Hostile aliens were coming and they intended to wipe out the human race. Earth's military had spent decades preparing for the possibility of alien invasion, though most people thought it was just science fiction planning. Now, those preparations might be the only thing standing between humanity and extinction. The advanced scout ship arrived at the edge of the solar system 3 days after leaving Council space. It was sleek, black, and completely silent as it moved through space. Its pilot, Seth Karan, was an experienced hunter who had eliminated dozens of chaotic species over the millennia. Seth Karan expected to find a primitive world with crude space technology. Instead, the scout ship's sensors detected something unprecedented, a coordinated defense fleet moving to intercept. Impossible, Seth Karan hissed to itself. Chaotic species cannot coordinate large-scale military operations. But the human fleet was definitely coordinating. Admiral Jiang had positioned his ships in a complex formation that used Earth's moon and several asteroids as cover. It was a strategy that relied on unpredictability rather than overwhelming force. The Void Hunter scout ship was faster, more advanced, and better armed than anything humans had ever built. In a straight fight, it could have destroyed the entire human fleet without taking significant damage. But humans didn't fight straight fights. Captain Sung-Ho Yoon, commanding the destroyer Busan Runner, began the battle by doing something no Void Hunter had ever encountered. He rammed his ship directly into the enemy vessel's shields. It should have been suicide. The human ship should have been destroyed instantly. Instead, the unexpected impact disrupted the scout ship's defensive systems just long enough for the rest of the human fleet to open fire. Seth Karan was stunned. Its precognitive abilities, which had always allowed it to predict enemy actions, were useless against human tactics. Humans didn't follow logical patterns. They improvised, took crazy risks, and somehow made impossible strategies work. The battle lasted only minutes, but when it was over, the scout ship was damaged and leaking atmosphere. For the first time in recorded history, a Void Hunter had been forced to retreat. Back on the research station, Yoon-soo received word of the battle through secret alien communication networks. The news spread like wildfire through the hidden resistance. Humans had drawn Void Hunter blood. This changes everything, Pirathon said when they met in the library again. The Void Hunters are not invincible. Your species has proven that chaos can defeat order. My people are still in terrible danger, Yoon-soo pointed out. One scout ship is nothing compared to the full Void Hunter fleet. But it is a beginning, said a new voice. Dr. Kyungmi Lee had arrived on Deep Thought just days ago as part of a prisoner exchange. Officially, she was there to study alien psychology. Unofficially, she was organizing a resistance movement. I've been studying the psychic field that connects all council species, Kyungmi explained. It's not natural. It's being artificially maintained by some kind of technology. If we could disrupt that technology, the harmony would collapse, Pirathon finished. Species throughout the galaxy would suddenly be able to think their own thoughts again. It would be chaos, Quilathara added, having joined their secret meeting. Beautiful, creative, wonderful chaos. But we need to move quickly, Kyungmi said. I've intercepted Void Hunter communications. They're preparing to send their entire fleet to Earth. Not just to eliminate humans, but to make an example of us. They want to show the galaxy what happens to species that resist. Captain Sung-Ho Yoon's damaged ship limped back toward Council space, carrying a mixed crew of humans and alien refugees. Word of his victory had inspired others to act. Some Council species were openly defecting, while others were quietly sabotaging Void Hunter preparations. On Earth, Admiral Jang studied the captured technology from the scout ship battle. Human engineers were already figuring out how to adapt alien weapons to human ships. More importantly, they were learning how the Void Hunter targeting systems worked. They rely on precognition, Chief Engineer Boram Jung explained to the Admiral. They can see what we're going to do before we do it, but only if we're thinking in predictable patterns. So we don't think in predictable patterns, Admiral Jang replied. We think like humans. In the deep dark between galaxies, the Void Hunter fleet began its journey toward Earth. Fleet Admiral Voidthek had lived for over 10,000 years, and in all that time, no species had ever successfully resisted the hunt. But then again, the Void Hunters had never faced a species quite like humans before. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when an unstoppable force met an unpredictable object. The Void Hunter fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metal nightmares. 300 ships of various sizes, each one sleek and black, and completely silent as they moved through space. At their center was the flagship Eternal Silence. Commanded by Fleet Admiral Voidthek, Admiral Minho Jang watched them arrive from the bridge of his command ship, the Soul's Shield. Earth's entire space fleet consisted of only 62 ships, most of them hastily converted cargo vessels with weapons bolted onto their hulls. By any logical calculation, this should have been a massacre, but humans had never been very good at logical calculations. All ships, remember your training, Admiral Jang broadcast to his fleet. Don't think about what you're going to do next. Just react. Be human. On the Void Hunter flagship, Fleet Admiral Voidthek studied the human formation with ancient eyes. In 10,000 years of existence, it had eliminated 17 chaotic species. All of them had tried to fight. All of them had failed. The humans have arranged themselves in a defensive sphere around their homeworld, reported Navigator Zethkul. Standard tactical formation. Their defeat is certain. No, Wojtek said quietly. Something is wrong. I cannot see their next moves clearly. This was disturbing. Void hunters were naturally precognitive, able to see seconds or even minutes into the future. It was what made them such effective hunters. But human thoughts were like static, interfering with a radio signal. The battle began when Colonel Wu Jin, Nam, commanding the assault ship Tiger's Claw, did something that violated every rule of space combat. He turned off his engines and let his ship drift directly toward the enemy fleet. To the Void Hunters, it looked like a suicide run. Their weapons locked onto the drifting human ship, ready to destroy it easily. But at the last second, Nam fired his maneuvering thrusters, spinning his ship in a wild pattern that no computer could predict. The Void Hunter weapons missed and Nam's ship raked the enemy formation with missile fire before disappearing behind Earth's moon. Impossible, Wojtek hissed. No pilot could execute such maneuvers. But humans weren't relying on skill or technology. They were relying on something the Void Hunters had never encountered: controlled chaos. Dr. Hei-Rin Choi had spent weeks developing what human scientists were calling discord bombs. These were not explosive weapons, but devices that broadcast human brainwave patterns on frequencies that interfered with Void Hunter telepathy. When the first discord bomb detonated near the enemy fleet, the effect was immediate and devastating. Void Hunter crews, who had shared thoughts and coordinated actions for millennia, suddenly found themselves alone in their own minds. Ships began drifting out of formation as their pilots struggled to function without the psychic network that had always guided them. Meanwhile, throughout Council space, the effects of humanity's resistance were spreading like wildfire. On the research station Deep Thought, Dr. Yunsu Park and her alien allies had located the source of the psychic harmony field, a massive artificial construct called the Prime Resonator, hidden in a forbidden region of space known as the Silent Core. It's been there for over 50,000 years, Dr. Kyungmi Lee explained as she studied the stolen data. The Void Hunters built it to control the thoughts of every species in the galaxy. That's why they're so afraid of chaos. If too many species start thinking independently, their control system could collapse. Pyrothon's metal form sparked with excitement. Then we must spread the word. Every species must know that their harmony is artificial, that their thoughts are not their own, but spreading that word would be dangerous. The Galactic Council was splitting into 3 factions: those who wanted to surrender Earth to the Void Hunters to restore order, those who thought gradual reform might be possible, and a growing number who were joining what the humans called the Liberation Alliance. Captain Sung Ho-yoon had become an unofficial leader of the Liberation Alliance. His ship, the Busan Runner, was now the center of a growing fleet of refugee vessels carrying aliens who had chosen freedom over forced harmony. We have ships from 43 different species now, reported his first officer, Lieutenant Jun Seo-bae. But they're having trouble working together. They've spent so long thinking in harmony that they don't know how to cooperate without it. Then we teach them, Sung-ho replied. Humans have been arguing with each other and still getting things done for thousands of years. We're experts at organized chaos. Back in the battle around Earth, the Discord bombs were having an unexpected side effect. Some Void Hunter crews, cut off from their psychic network for the first time in centuries, were beginning to remember who they had been before joining the Hunters. Commander Yithmara, aboard the destroyer Dark Whisper, felt memories flooding back. She had once been a member of a species that loved music and art, but those memories had been suppressed by the harmony field, replaced with the cold certainty of the hunt. "Stand down your weapons," she ordered her crew. "Commander?" "Her weapons," officer asked in confusion. "I said stand down, we're not hunting anymore." It was a small act of rebellion, but it was enough. Other Void Hunter ships began breaking formation, their crews struggling with long-suppressed memories and emotions. Fleet Admiral Voidthek watched its perfect fleet dissolving into chaos and felt something it had not experienced in millennia: fear. All ships returned to formation, it broadcast. The chaos must not spread, but chaos, once started, is very hard to stop. On Earth, Captain Ji-Un-so received the mission that every human pilot had volunteered for, but hoped would never come. Her ship, the destroyer Thunder's Edge, had been loaded with the most powerful Discord bomb ever created. Her job was to get it close enough to the Void Hunter flagship to disrupt their command structure. It was a suicide mission. Everyone knew, it including Captain So. "Give them hell," Admiral Zhang told her over the radio. "With pleasure, sir," she replied. Captain So's attack run was not elegant or sophisticated. She simply aimed her ship at the flagship and accelerated to maximum speed, ignoring the energy beams and missiles that tore through her hull. The Void Hunters tried to predict her path, but chaos cannot be predicted. Even as her ship broke apart, around her So kept flying, kept adjusting course, kept moving toward her target. The Discord bomb detonated just as her ship impacted the flagship's shields. The explosion was not large, but the psychic disruption it caused spread through the entire Void Hunter fleet like a wave. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Void Hunters experienced what every other species took for granted: the terrifying, wonderful experience of thinking for themselves. Many of them could not handle it. Ships drifted powerless as their crews fell into catatonic shock. Others began fighting amongst themselves as suppressed grudges and disagreements finally surfaced. But some, like Commander Yathamara, embraced their newfound freedom and turned their weapons against their former masters. Fleet Admiral Voidthek felt its ancient mind cracking under the weight of independent thought. For millennia, it had been part of the collective consciousness that maintained galactic order. Now, alone with its own thoughts for the first time, it began to understand what it had become. "All ships, retreat," it ordered. "Return to the silent core. The humans have done something impossible." As the Void Hunter fleet fled toward the edge of the solar system, humanity celebrated its first major victory in an interstellar war. But Captain Park, still a prisoner at the council chambers, knew this was just the beginning. "They'll be back," he told Ambassador Hyojin Lim. "And next time, they'll be prepared for our chaos." "Then we'll have to get more chaotic," she replied. In the depths of space, the silent core waited in the darkness, its ancient machinery humming with the power that had controlled galactic civilization for 50,000 years. But even there, in the most ordered place in the universe, the effects of human chaos were beginning to spread. The journey to the silent core took 3 weeks, even with the fastest ships in the Liberation Alliance fleet. Captain Taman Park stood on the bridge of the rebuilt Soul's Promise, watching the stars change as they traveled deeper into the forbidden region of space. The rescue from the council chambers had been surprisingly easy. With half the Galactic Council in open rebellion and the other half too afraid to act, a mixed fleet of human and alien ships had simply demanded his crew's release. The old order was crumbling, and everyone knew it. "The readings are getting strange," reported Navigator Junseo Bay from his station. "Space itself feels different here. More rigid." Dr. Jinwoo Kim looked up from his instruments. "The quantum field is being artificially stabilized. Reality is more ordered here, more predictable. It's like the opposite of chaos." Captain Park felt a chill run down his spine. If space itself was more ordered here, would human unpredictability still work? Would they even be able to think their own thoughts? The silent core was not what they expected. Instead of a space station or artificial construct, they found an entire system of planets that had been converted into a massive machine. Crystalline, structures the size of moons floated in perfect formation, connected by beams of energy that pulsed with the rhythm of a vast heartbeat. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Yoon-Soo Park, who had joined the mission as their expert on alien psychology, "and terrifying." At the center of the system was a planet that looked like it was made of pure light. This was the Prime Resonator, the source of the psychic field that had controlled galactic civilization for 50,000 years. "How do we destroy something like that?" asked Admiral Zhang, who had come aboard the Soul's Promise to personally command this mission. Chief Engineer Tae-Sung-Oh was studying the energy readings from the system. I don't think we can destroy it with conventional weapons. The power levels are beyond anything we've ever seen. But what? Captain Park asked. The system is incredibly complex, but it's also incredibly old. I'm reading stress fractures. In some of the larger structures, the machine is breaking down. Dr. Young-Suk Kim, their newest team member and an expert in alien technology, had been quiet since they arrived at the Silent Core. Now she spoke up with a voice full of wonder and horror. It's not breaking down from age, she said. It's breaking down from exhaustion. The machine is powered by the minds of the original Void Hunters. They've been feeding their consciousness into this system for 50,000 years, maintaining perfect order across the entire galaxy. They're dying, Dr. Yoon-Soo added, understanding immediately. The strain of controlling so many species, suppressing so much chaos, it's burning them out. As if summoned by their discussion, a massive ship appeared near the Soul's Promise. It was the Eternal Silence, flagship of the Void Hunter fleet, but it moved differently now, less graceful, more desperate. A communication channel opened, and Fleet Admiral Voidthek's voice filled the bridge. But it sounded different than before. Older, more tired, and strangely human. Captain Park of the Humans, the ancient voice, said. We would speak with you. I'm listening, Park replied cautiously. Come aboard our vessel, alone. There is something you must understand before you destroy us all. Against the advice of his crew, Captain Park took a shuttle to the Void Hunter flagship. He found Voidthek waiting for him in a chamber filled with strange organic-looking technology. The Fleet Admiral looked different than the last time they had met. Less perfect, more real. Your chaos has awakened something in us, Voidthek explained. Memories we had forgotten, feelings we had suppressed. Do you know what we were before we became hunters? Tell me, Park said. We were like you. Chaotic, unpredictable, creative. We built wonders that spanned galaxies. But we also built weapons that could destroy stars. We fought wars that burned entire sectors of space. In the end, we realized that freedom led to destruction. Voidthek gestured to the walls around them, which Park now realized were covered in images. Scenes of beauty and horror, creation and destruction, all mixed together. So we chose order, the Fleet Admiral continued. We built the Prime Resonator to enforce peace throughout the galaxy. We gave up our freedom to prevent others from making our mistakes. But you've been dying, Park observed. Yes. Maintaining perfect order across hundreds of species requires constant effort. We have been feeding our life force into the machine for millennia. Soon we will be gone entirely. Voidthek turned its ancient eyes toward the human captain. We offer you a choice, Captain Park. Take control of the Prime Resonator. Shape the galaxy as you see fit. Prevent the chaos that will come if our system fails. Captain Park was quiet for a long moment, thinking. The offer was tempting. Ultimate power, the ability to guide galactic civilization, to prevent wars and suffering. No, he said finally. You refuse ultimate power. I refuse ultimate responsibility, Park corrected. Problems aren't solved by controlling people. They're solved by letting people solve them themselves. Voidthek's form seemed to shimmer, as if it was having trouble maintaining its shape. Then you doom the galaxy to chaos. Maybe. Or maybe we free it to grow. Captain Park returned to his ship and explained the situation to his crew. The debate that followed was loud, chaotic, and very human. Some thought they should take control of the system. Others wanted to destroy it completely. Still others suggested finding a middle ground. In the end, they did what humans do best. They argued until they found a solution that nobody was completely happy with, but everyone could live with. Chief Engineer Tae-Sung-Oh and his team didn't destroy the Prime Resonator. Instead, they overloaded it with the most chaotic thing they could think of. Pure human consciousness. Not the organized discord of their weapons, but the full, unfiltered, beautiful mess of human thought. The effect was immediate and galaxy-wide. Every species that had been connected to the psychic harmony field suddenly found themselves thinking their own thoughts for the first time in millennia. The results were exactly as chaotic as expected. Some species panicked, others celebrated. Wars broke out in some sectors, while in others, former enemies became allies. New technologies were invented overnight, while old ones were abandoned. Art, music, and literature exploded across the galaxy as suppressed creativity was finally unleashed. It was messy, unpredictable, and sometimes dangerous. In other words, it was alive. Ambassador He-Jin Lim found herself busier than she had ever been, helping to establish what they called the Chaos Accords. Not a government, but a framework for species to interact while maintaining their independence. The trick, she explained to a gathering of newly freed alien representatives, is learning to work together while thinking different thoughts. Humans have been doing it for thousands of years. We'll teach you. Captain Park stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the galaxy transform around them. In the distance, the silent core was going dark as its ancient machinery finally shut down. The Void Hunters were gone, their consciousness finally at rest after 50,000 years of maintaining perfect order. His communications officer looked up from her station. Captain, we're receiving a signal from outside the galaxy. Something about investigators coming to determine if we're ready for contact with the greater community. Park smiled. Another challenge, another opportunity for chaos to meet the unknown. Send them a message, he ordered. Tell them we're as ready as we'll ever be, and warn them that humans don't follow anyone else's rules. What if they don't like chaos? The officer asked. Then they'll learn too, Park replied. One way or another. In the depths of space, the galaxy continued its chaotic dance of creation and destruction, growth and change. And somewhere in the middle of it all, humanity continued to do what it did best: make everything more complicated, more unpredictable, and more alive. The age of enforced order was over. The age of chosen chaos had begun,